Well, welcome to Focus today, and today we have really an honor to have back with us Phyllis Schlafly. She's been with us before, and I've had the opportunity to be with Phyllis on several occasions, and she's just really one of the great national leaders of the conservative movement. She's authored books, she does commentary, newsletters, and she's with us today to talk about the border controversy, the Gang of Eight's immigration proposal. And Mr. Schlafly, nice to have you with us again.
Thank you. Always good to join you.
Well, listen, we've been watching with great interest the whole issue of immigration, but in particular, this particular proposal that the Gang of Eight has come out with. And already it's coming out of the chute. It's quite controversial. What's your take on it? Oh,
it's a terrible bill in every possible way, and it's written in secret by the Democrats and some Schumer Republicans. And it would increase immigration, legal and illegal, by an enormous amount. They're estimating 33 million new people over the next decade or so. And it will drive up unemployment and drive down wages. It will be particularly hurtful to the low-skilled people. It's a real offense to the black community, which will be frozen out of a lot of these entry-level jobs.
Wow.
And then, of course, it's a racket about telling us that the best and the brightest are foreigners. That's ridiculous. The best and the brightest are Americans.
All right, so there's a couple of things here. I want to get into it, but what do you see as the biggest loophole in this bill?
Well, I don't think there's anything good about it.
Oh.
They raise the number of guest workers, which is kind of a racket anyway. The requirement that employers are supposed to seek a qualified American first is not really enforceable and not used. And it has very much affected college students and what they do. When I speak on college campuses, so many of them tell me they have changed their major. That makes them go to college for 5 years or 6 instead of 4, and they get out of the so-called STEM subjects, which are science and tech and engineering, etc., and go into what they think is more opportunity for a job, like accounting.
Well, you know, since this was a Republican and Democrat, I guess, creation, what's so interesting to me is people like Marco Rubio got involved in this, and I think this is going to hurt him big time once this whole bill gets out in the open.
I think Marco has slit his own throat. He's allowed himself to be used as a salesman for a bad bill and for the globalists who simply want to keep jobs away from Americans and hire foreigners and bring them in here to run our companies.
All right, so this also creates some issues. Now, do you think, first of all, do you think the bill's going to pass?
Well, I hope not. I think it's pretty tight. I hope the media, the general media, have not been giving much play to it, and it's a real silence. That's the way the media, who always want to help Obama and help the globalists, are treating it, and that's why I'm trying to write about it and expose what's in it. Our friends on the committee have certainly been Senator Sessions and Senator Grassley, and they've proposed a number of very good amendments, all of which have been defeated in committee. But I hope the American people will wake up. I mean, our jobs and our future depend on it.
All right. So one of the big issues here is the Republicans trying to figure out a way to connect with Hispanics. And President Bush did it, but what is your suggestion for them?
Well, I think that's a great myth, because the Hispanics who come in like this are going to vote Democrat. And there is not a slightest bit of evidence that they're going to vote Republican. And the people of the Republicans should reach out to are the white votes, that the white voters who didn't vote in the last election, and there are millions of them. And I think when you have an establishment-run nomination system, they give us a series of losers, which they've given us with Dole and McCain and Romney, and they give us people who don't connect with the grassroots.
Right.
And so I think they're leading us. The propagandists are leading us down the wrong path. there is not any evidence at all that these Hispanics coming in from Mexico will vote Republican.
All right, so where do you think is going to happen with this immigration issue? Because it's possible the president, through executive order, could give mass amnesty, even though his administration's in trouble right now. He could still do it, but
you mean like he did the DREAM Act?
Yes. Yes. You think he will do it?
Well, I think he's the most dictatorial president we've ever had. He's trying to rule by executive order instead of by legislation. And we know that his game plan, somebody leaked out what his strategic game plan is, and it was for the gun bill and the immigration bill to pass the Senate, but then be stopped in the House. And then he would run against the House like Harry Truman did in 1948, which you probably can't remember, but I do, and win and take over the whole Congress. And that plan was really messed up when they beat the gun bill in the Senate. So thanks to the gun people who did that. And I'm hopeful that we can beat the Gang of Eight bill, just like we beat the George Bush, Ted Kennedy bill in, 2008.
All right, so what do you think is the kind of the short-term answer to the immigration issue in the United States?
Well, it will increase unemployment and depress the wages of those who do have jobs. It's just economics 101. You increase your supply of cheap labor, you're going to make jobs harder to get, and those who do have jobs are going to have their wages depressed. It's just axiomatic.
All right, so at this point, the bill is not getting its amendments. Do you know where it is in the process? Has it gone to the House?
Well, they voted it out of committee, and a lot of good amendments offered by Senator Sessions and Senator Grassley were defeated, such as the Grassley amendment that corporations had to make a good faith effort to hire Americans before they hired foreigners with these guest passes. Mm-hmm. And, of course, the Gang of Eight's bill greatly increases the number of guest workers, just fantastically increases it, doubles the H-1B visas, for example. And I'm just hopeful that the American people will wake up. They'll hear from the senators, will hear from the grassroots, and they'll defeat it. And I understand there are people now trying to raise money to give a primary challenge to any Republican who votes for it.
Wow. Okay, just before I let you go, what are your thoughts with all the scandals going on in Washington these days?
Well, I think the IRS scandal is a real scandal. It's such a bad scandal that even the media are talking about it.
Yeah.
Surprise, surprise.
Surprise, surprise.
And the way they held up approval for and even asked for the content of their prayers, for the text of their prayers.
Right.
I mean, that's really over the top.
Wow.
And they delayed him for 3 years or more before giving him a pass on creating a social welfare 501c4 organization.
Right.
And I think the American people understand that. They don't want to get letters from IRS.
Yeah.
And letters from IRS usually carry bad news.
There we go. Mr. Schlafly, late yesterday, the Attorney General, at least the report came out that the Attorney General okayed the seizure of the emails by the Fox reporter, and now this embroils the Attorney General. The question I have is, who investigates the Attorney General?
Well, Congress ought to do it. I hope Congressman Nice will go after it. I mean, he let Lois get by with what she did, and fortunately we had a former prosecutor on the committee, Trey, forgot his last name. The congressman from South Carolina, I think.
Yeah, Growley.
And he knew that once she made a statement, she had given up her Fifth Amendment privilege. So I hope he's going to call her back and ask her 100 questions.
There we go.
But one of the worst things is Obama, the lower-level person in IRS who was doing all this biased investigation, she's now been promoted to run Obamacare. Can you believe that?
Well, I know it's just no, I can't, and you got to wonder if this investigation is going to implode the IRS to the point where we investigate them like they do us.
Good idea.
Yeah, you know, there's an old saying: if you lie to the government, it's a crime. If the government lies to you, it's politics.
Yeah, good for you. Well, I've got a lot of good information. My column that's up on my website right now, eagleforum.org, is a good summary of what's wrong with the Gang of Eight bill.
All right.
And I'll have another one next week with particular attention to these guest worker passes, which is another racket.
All right. Eagleforum.org. That's where you can read Mrs. Schlafly's articles, and they are terrific and well-researched. Thank you for your time, and blessings on you.
All right. God bless, and have a good day.
Okay. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Paulina, and I work at theDove TV. Did you know that when you support theDove TV, you have a profound impact, not only in our community, but around the world? It's your continued support that takes the inspiration and hope in the programs we produce and makes them available to the thousands of people who are watching these videos online every week. Help bring encouragement and hope to our valley and beyond by making a secure online donation today at our website, thedove.us.
Well, buckle your seatbelts. We got Ray Comfort with us today. It's great to have him back. He's just really a wonderful guy, and he just does an incredible work, and I think one of the great apologists of our day. He's the president and founder of Living Waters, and he's now come out with a video curriculum for young people. I want to talk to him about that, entitled Roots, in his new book called God Speaks. Ray, nice to have you back, friend.
Great to be on your program. Thank you very much.
Well, tell us about Roots. I'm pretty excited about this.
Well, we went to Europe, you may know what that is, and we went to 13 countries in 13 days and filmed 13 episodes. And I wanted to show that you could use biblical evangelism in any country and not have to live there for 2 years and relate to the people. Often you read of missionaries who go to a culture and they're so culturally sensitive, they have to dress like the people, talk like the people, learn the language until they earn the right to witness to them 2 or 3 years later. And we showed that you can instantly share the gospel with any person from any nation if you address the conscience and do it biblically. And so we filmed 13 episodes, and then we took the cream of those episodes and put them onto one DVD called Roots, specifically geared toward young people. And we went to the Duggar family. I don't know if you're familiar with the Duggar family. They're kind of pro-life. They've got 19 kids. and so they took the be fruitful and multiply thing, to heart. And so we talked to them about their faith, and then we took them open air preaching in Arkansas State University, and they talked about their own fears and what they like doing, what they don't like doing. So it's a very interesting, fast-moving DVD series, particularly geared for young people, as I said.
A particular demographic that you went after?
Demographic, yeah, mainly young people, like human beings.
Oh, okay, we'll stick with that.
If they're Christian and they're breathing, they qualify as a labor of Christ. We want to equip people and show them they don't need to fear. Fear is a paralyzing thing. I've been open air preaching for years, ages, down through the ages, since the last century, over 5,000 times, and I still get fear. And you just have to learn to control those fears and know there's nothing to fear except being stoned to death.
Did you discover anything new when you did this yourself?
When I open air preached, or when I produced the series?
Well, I've heard about your preaching on benches in New Zealand, so a little familiar with that. No, about the series. Did you pick up anything fresh for yourself?
When we went to Europe, I certainly did. I learned so much about how beautiful Europe is and how everybody is exactly the same, no matter what culture. Every single person has this cry in their heart, I don't want to die. That's their God-given will to live, and it's something you and I can tap into. Everyone, according to the Bible, is subject to the fear of death and the torment that one day they're going to die. Well, if there's one chance in a million that Jesus Christ has abolished death and brought life and immortality to light through the gospel, they owe it to their good sense just to soften their hearts. So we tap into that and ask them, what do you think happens when someone dies? And almost everybody has thoughts on that subject because they've got their own fear of death and their will to live. And that's a God-given passion.
What kind of responses did you get? I mean, the typical, why does God allow bad things to happen to good people? I mean, what kind of responses did you get?
Well, in Europe, there's a lot of atheism, as you know, but atheism is such a stupid philosophy. Isaac Newton says it's totally senseless, and it is. It makes no use of the senses. You can prove God exists in 2 minutes to any atheist and see him backslide. All you do is say, so you believe nothing created everything? He says, nothing created everything? Yeah, that's what an atheist believes. Nothing created everything, which is a scientific impossibility. Is that what you believe? And they'll go, well, not nothing, it just wasn't God. So, okay, let's see why you don't want it to think it's God. And you just take them through the 10 Commandments and find out they're liars, thieves, porn freaks, fornicators, adulterers, blasphemers. And it's got nothing to do with the intellect. It's to do with a moral issue. They can't find God for the same reason a thief can't find a policeman. They really don't want God's and his moral responsibility. So that's the issue that's at hand, and it's something we teach people how to address.
That's wonderful. All right, so where can people get this? I mean, how can they use it, and where is it available?
You can get it through livingwaters.com, livingwaters.com.
Okay, and it's downloadable, and they can show it there?
Yes, downloadable. They can get the physical DVD. It's called Roots, and we're very excited about it. Did
you bump into anything that was unexpectedly? I mean, I notice you're very familiar with the obvious objections to Christ and God and creation, but did you pick up anything that you weren't expecting there?
Just got very tired. My whole philosophy was this. I said to it, we had a team of 16, cameramen, etc., and I said, the key to this is to eat well and get plenty of sleep.
Yeah, right.
After 3 days, we'd had 4 hours sleep and we're eating fast food. It just didn't work. You know, life isn't like that. And after the 4th day, we hit the wall, all of us. And we just felt like coming home, but we stayed with it. It was like a marathon, and it was just wonderful to come back with these 13 episodes from 13 different countries in 13 days.
What can the American youth learn from this?
What can America, that they don't need to be intimidated by anyone. There's, you know, when you learn biblical evangelism, when you learn to address the conscience, you can sit next to some guy in a plane who's got so many letters after his name, he looks like a mailman, and not feel at all intimidated, because you're going to circumnavigate his intellect, the place of argument, and speak directly to his conscience as Jesus did. And when you go through the 10 Commandments and say, hey, you know it's wrong to lie and steal and lust and fornicate and commit adultery, everyone's going to say, yeah, because they've got an intuitive knowledge that God himself has placed within them. That is the conscience. The word conscience means with knowledge. Con is with, and science is knowledge. So every single person has a knowledge of right and wrong.
All right, so it's available. You can go to livingwaters.com and check it out, and it's called Roots. It's an incredible video curriculum. And out of the, you got 13, is that what you did, all 13, or did you condense it down to a few?
Yeah, both. They can buy the whole series of the 13 episodes, or they can just take the cream where we did teaching in between the episodes where we condensed it for Roots.
All right. Listen, 180 continues to get incredible review. How's it going from your perspective?
180 is very exciting. It's had over 4 million views, and we've either given away free or sold nearly 1 million DVDs. Plus, it's been on, I think, 14 television networks. So we're very excited about what's happened. But we've got a new documentary coming out. It's about 40, maybe 50 minutes. It's called Famous Atheists, and I am more excited about that than I was about 180. It is just amazing. I had the privilege of going and interviewing evolutionary scientists at UCLA and USC and talked to them about evolution, and they have got foot and mouth in the truest sense of the word. This one teaching, or this one DVD, shows that evolution is not scientific at all. It's a fairy tale for grown-ups, and all we do is interview evolutionary biologists, evolutionary biomajors, and scientists. No creationists are in the whole video, and it's called Famous Atheists, and we hope to have it out in 4 to 6 weeks, but we're very, very excited about it.
Did you kind of run into the same things that Ben Stan did with Expel?
No, we've been very, very careful when it comes to putting anything in it where we can end up with a lawsuit. Very careful. Because we know they come to us like a bat out of heaven. And they try and stop it, because it really... See, the whole evolution evolution issue has a hurricane force wind behind it promoting it. And this is what's behind it. Evolution gives license to fornication, gives license to pornography, because it says man is a primate and there's no moral responsibility whatsoever. And so that's why it's embraced. That's why Richard Dawkins is seen as a hero. I mean, he goes to universities and he's applauded by thousands of people because he's the Pied Piper that is leading them into guilt-free pleasure, because it shakes off the moral responsibility when it comes to God and his existence.
Well said. Ray, just a little side note. The Gosnell trial took this country, brought to light the horrors of abortion, and yet a lot of the mainstream media avoided it. But now it's starting to leak out. Do you think that this thing, this abortion issue, will continue to get more exposure in light of what happened to Gosnell? And I understand now they even found an abortionist in Texas that makes the Gosnell thing look pretty small.
I don't think it'll have any effect, and I'll tell you why. What Gosnell is guilty of is not killing babies legally. He didn't obey the rules. He got the baby out before he killed it. He's supposed to kill it before it comes fully out of the womb. It's like a Nazi being reprimanded for shooting Jews in the chest when he's been told to shoot them in the head. And it is the epitome of hypocrisy for any pro-abortionist to point at this guy and say what he did was wrong. Of course, what he did was wrong. It's abominable. It's horrific. But this is happening every single day to thousands of babies throughout the world.
Yeah, I don't know why our conscience, why the Christian community isn't just screaming over this, because now we're starting to see the testimony, we're starting to hear the testimony from those who sat on the jury who saw all the evidence. I guess it's just overwhelming.
Yes, absolutely horrific.
Yep. Let me take a quick break. We'll come back. I want to talk to you about your new book, God Speaks. Ray Comfort's with us. He's the president and founder of Living Waters. You need to check it out, livingwaters.com. A great resource for you. And get a hold of the new video series, Roots. We'll be right back with Ray in just a second.
Hi, I'm Daniel, and I work at theDove TV. You know, compared to Portland, Seattle, and LA, Medford might be considered a small market. But at theDove, we're excited about the opportunity to make a big impact right here in our community. And you help make that happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us now by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or by phoning 541-776-5368.
Okay, we're back, and just so honored to have Ray Comfort with us, and he's president and founder of Living Waters, and a great resource, a great ministry, one of the great apologists of our day. And check out his new video-driven youth curriculum, which is called Roots, and it's at his website, plus all the other things that he does, and he has them himself involved in. And I did notice you, Ray. I have to laugh. I was just rolling on the floor when you were lowering your seat. I guess you just didn't want to join the Naval Reserve or something there. But
That is funny.
That was hysterical. Okay, that was inside. Nobody caught that. All right, moving right along. God Speaks, your new book. What is it?
I haven't read it yet, sorry.
Okay.
Yes, it's a very exciting book, and I'm very grateful to Regal for publishing it. It's about the book of Job. I love the book of Job. It's a wonderful, wonderful book, and it's so relevant to today's society. I don't know if you've been following what happened in the U.S. in the Tornado Alley area, where people just instantly lost everything. And so Job is so relevant. It's relevant to all of us, because as much as we hold on to our material possessions and our loved ones, we've got to learn to hold on to everything in this life with a very, very loose hand.
Well, there's so many lessons in that, because, the Oklahoma City and more Oklahoma disaster, I mean, instantly. In fact, you know what was so interesting about that hurricane? It was one of the few that was during the day where they actually watched it live on television. And we watched people lose their lives, and homes and cities and communities just wiped off the face of the map.
Yeah, it's a horrible beyond words. This might sound stupid, but when I clean my teeth in the mornings, I'm thinking these people were left without a toothbrush, without a shower, without toilets, without their clothes, some without loved ones. They lost everything in an instant, and it's a horror beyond words, and we need to keep them in prayer.
Do you think we have done away in our theology the whole subject of suffering and loss?
I think so. The prosperity, health, and wealth message is so popular, so big, particularly in America, and it's so embraced even in countries like Africa, where televangelism has some influence. But it's so off. It's, you know, the wise man and the foolish man that Jesus spoke of. One built his house on sand, one built his house on rock. Both suffer storms. Being a Christian means if you fall over, you get bruised. It means you can get cancer. You're eventually going to die. You could die instantly today. And so to parade out the Christian life as being one of being problem-free and being healthy and wealthy just isn't true to both Scripture and experience. The Apostle Paul lost everything, found himself in prison, forsaken by friends, and eventually being martyred. The first 11 apostles were martyred for their faith. Jesus warned the time will come when people will kill you thinking they're doing God a favor. If you want some bedtime reading, read Fox's Book of Martyrs. Yeah. You know, the promise of Christianity is a safe landing, not a smooth flight. In fact, it's a bumpier flight. You'll be hated for his name's sake, tribulation, temptation, persecution. As a Christian, it seems you go from one problem to another problem. And as we understand from Scripture, God uses these trials to settle, establish, and strengthen us and purify us and bring us forth as gold.
Well, when bad things happen to good people, why do they say, well, why do they feel God's turned on them?
Could you say that again? You sounded like...
I just say when bad things happen to good people, especially Christians, why do they feel like God has turned against them?
That's a misunderstanding of Scripture. You know, this whole thing with Job. Job was healthy, wealthy. He was successful. He was popular. He had everything. He had 10 children that he loved and he prayed for. And then in an instant, he lost everything and found himself scraping his wounds. He had sore boils from the soles to the crown of his head. And he lost everything. His 10 children died, and he lost his health and he lost his wealth. And the interesting thing is, when you read Job's comforters that come alongside him to comfort him, the inference is, Job, you have lost the favor of God. And that just isn't true when you see the inside story. God was trying him, and he came forth as gold. And we've got to understand that when things go wrong for us as Christians, that doesn't mean we've lost God's favor. The problem is we're not looking to the right places to see God's smile or his frown. God's smile came with the cross. If you look at the love of God, you'll always see it in the New Testament given in direct correlation to the cross. Herein is love, not that we love God, but that he loved us and sent his Son to be a substitute for our sins. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. Every time you see the love of God mentioned, God commended his love toward us, and that while we yet sinners, Christ died for us. So if you want to know God loves you, look to the cross. Don't look to prosperity, because if that's true, that God's love is in direct relation to prosperity, then God loves Bill Gates more than he loves all of us.
Yeah.
But it's so keep looking to the cross, and that means when you're in a dungeon, when you've been beaten for Christ's sake, you can say, he loved me and gave himself for me, because you're looking to the right place for God's love.
In the middle of Job's suffering, he asked God a lot of questions, but never really got any answers.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting. Yeah, I mean, I was very, if I can say this, I was very proud of Job because he held up so well. You know, I take 3 Advils before I go to the dentist because I don't like pain. And yet Job, it makes sense. Take him before you go to the dentist, not afterwards. You know, prevent the pain. And yet Job held up in the such suffering we can't imagine. And then he started complaining and saying, I want an audience with God. I want to speak to God directly. And suddenly God appeared. God Almighty, the creator of the universe, appears to one man and says, who is this that darkens counsel without knowledge? And then God asked Job 70 questions and didn't answer any of Job's questions at all.
Right.
Then Job ended up by saying, I heard of you by the hearing of my ear, but now my eye has seen you, wherefore I abhor myself and repent in dust and in ashes. And so we've got to realize that we can't demand an audience with God. When we go through suffering, we can conquer that suffering through trust in God and say, Lord, your word says all things work together for good to those that love God and are called according to his purposes. We can say with the psalmist, it was good for me that I was afflicted that I might learn your statutes. Because when you're a Christian, God is working in you to will and do of his good pleasure. And no matter how hopeless it seems, faith can lift you up. Trust in God can lift you up and say, though he slay me, yet I will trust him. And that's the power of faith.
Ray, Job lost everything. I mean, everything except his wife. Is there any message in that?
Yeah, it certainly is. But, you know, often his wife is vilified because his wife comes alongside him and says, curse God and die. And you think, what is she saying? But, you know, we're going to realize what's happening here. When a woman has a child, she conceives, has nausea for about 3 months, and she carries the baby kicking around on her stomach. Then she bears it in pain, then she suckles it and sees it grow up. And she did that with 10 of her children. Mm-hmm. And she lost the whole 10. And you think what happened to the woman that in Bethlehem, where Herod came in with the soldiers and he killed the children under 2. Imagine that, what happened is they're holding the beloved little baby, looking into the eyes as a mother does. Suddenly the door gets kicked in, and in comes a soldier with a sword and plunges that kid through the heart. Mm-hmm. And she's left with a corpse and blood on her hands. What a horror beyond words, that could happen so quickly for no reason, no seeming reason. And they said these women that it happened to would not be comforted. You could come alongside them and say, oh, there, Romans 8:28, you know, God's in control. They would shake you off because there's no words of comfort for such a horrific situation. Multiply that by 10, and you've got Job's wife and what she went through. She lost her children, she lost her security, she lost her husband. He wasn't even recognizable as a human being in that sense. Job, if you understand it and study it, is a type of Christ who wasn't recognizable on the cross. And Job's friends didn't recognize him. His wealth, his integrity, his security, his health was all taken from him, and it has such a powerful lesson for us. And I hope that God uses this book as a tonic for Christians, but more importantly, that he uses it to bring salvation to those who are sitting in the shadow of death.
It seems that everything that can be shaken is being shaken. And I would assume until we have a relationship with God that can't be shaken. But whoever thought America would be upside down? In fact, every country in the world's upside down. This is an incredible time on the face of the earth. And there are a lot of Job parallels here. What do you want the Christian reader to get out of this?
Well, for the Christian, I want the Christian to, number one, be comforted, be encouraged, and realize that Romans 8:28 is the safety net scripture for the Christian. It doesn't matter if I got run over by an 18-wheeler today and killed. Romans 8:28, I was in the right place at the right time, because the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. Everything I do, everywhere I go, I commit my way to the Lord. No matter what happens to me, it's happening by the permissive will of God. Not his perfect will, but his permissive will. And God, in his great wisdom, permits things to happen to the Christian for his own good, for her own good. And when you understand that, you can rejoice and keep your joy in tribulation. For the unsaved, I want them to be challenged with the gospel and come out of death into life and find the everlasting life that's alone in Jesus Christ. So that's the message of the book, God Speaks.
Ray, you're a delight and an inspiration. Thank you, my friend. I value our time together and look forward to having you back many times. And keep up the good work, buddy. And by the way, our good buddy Hal Short says hi.
What a terrible name. Hal and Short.
I tell him that every time I mention it to you. All right, God bless, pal. See you next time.
You, God bless.
Bye. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Paula, and I work at theDove TV. Every day we get letters and emails from people who've been encouraged, blessed, and challenged by the programs on theDove TV. But we couldn't do it without you. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to bring inspiration and hope to our community by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or call us at 541-776-5368.
Just turn this way. And we have two special guests in the studio with us today, and delighted to have with us David Mulig, who is the Director of Support Services at Access, and we have veteran Jay Jacobson. And gentlemen, thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
And David, you're here to help us get more information about the Access VA program.
Correct.
What is it? What are you doing?
Yeah, so the Access program is a program which we're looking at as a priority for us, is to make sure that all veterans have a home that they deserve. And so it's a program that's actually called the Support Services for Veteran Families. And it's giving us the opportunity to reach out to veterans who may be homeless or at risk of homelessness, and doing what we can to get them housed.
That's wonderful. What a great service. And Jay, nice to see you.
Thank you.
And
nice to be here.
What's your story?
Well, been living on the streets for quite a while.
Really?
Then I went through White City up here, spent 4 months at the source, and then I had to find a place for me and my wife to live, so we stayed at the St. Vincent de Paul for a month, and then we turned around and basically went out of the streets until we got everybody working with us. We had to show up at the housing segment of the VA, Access, and then Interfaith Care Community, and Veterans in Recovery. We have mentors there, which was helping us to navigate the streets so that we could figure out what it is we needed and who was going to help us with what.
You got hooked up with Access.
Yes.
Good. What an incredible thing. David, I don't think we know how big this problem is. Can you give us any idea?
I can. In 2010, there was an estimate that there was approximately 1.5 million veterans who were considered impoverished. And according to the Department of Housing and Urban Authority or Development, they said about 13% of the veterans that were considered impoverished would actually be homeless within a year. So it's a very big problem that's happening, and of course that was 2010, so now we're a few years since then. In Jackson County, in 2010, we also discovered through a count that we have in Jackson County that there was approximately 180 veterans who were considered homeless. And again, that was in 2010, so now we're further on, and that doesn't count the people who we weren't able to get outreach and get into the community and actually count. So the problem is prevalent. There are veterans who are coming back who are not finding jobs, or they're coming back and their income is less than, say $19,000 a year, and that's considered very low income. And so someone such as Jay or a member of a veteran's family, if they're considered low income, they can certainly come in and talk with Access and tap into some of these services. So.
All right. So how do you connect Jay with a house? How's that work?
Yeah. So what would happen when a veteran came in and went through our eligibility requirements? We have those. We have case managers who actually sit down with the veteran and the veteran's families and look at what their goals. What is it that a veteran would like to see or to have. And in this case, it's going to be housing, sustainable housing. And so what we would do is we would have the veteran and the veteran's family, such as Jay, to actually go out and research and find places to live. And then with the funding that we have, we're actually able to support our veteran families by offering security deposits. We can give up, offer the rent, to pay the rent for a while until there's some sustainability. We can help with their utilities. So there's definitely the basic things that we can do to make sure that we're working with landlords and supporting, someone like Jay and his wife Paula, finding housing.
And it's working for you, Jay?
It is. In fact, they not only covered the deposit, but a couple months' rent until the HUD VASH program came around behind, and so now our rent is basically a certain portion of our income, since our income is so low, but we're able to live there and stay there. But until our name came up on the list of the vouchers, Access was there to help out and be able to pay the rent. So we weren't in the back of our truck for more than 5 weeks this time. But
wow. Where did you serve? What conflict were you involved in?
Everywhere from Lebanon to Grenada. In 1980 to 1990.
Really?
3 months short of 11 years.
Wow. Thank you for your service.
You're welcome.
Yeah, boy. I'm just overwhelmed that we have this problem,
yes,
David. And I think, we have so many issues out there, but here's a group that really have, here we are going into Memorial Day weekend, and it takes a whole nother level of meaning and significance. How can people help you, help them?
Well, so one of the things that, what we're doing here today is if anyone who's watching or anyone knows of a veteran or a veteran's family who is homeless or at risk of losing their home, and I think it's really important that we, support those that are at risk. you know, you can give us a call at Access, and you can contact me if you want to volunteer, if you want to, you know, if you're a landlord who wants to open up some of your spaces for, you know, a veteran or a veteran's family. You know, give me a call and we'll tap you into how you can support in those areas.
All right, that number, by the way, is 779-6691, 779-6691, and you can check it out also at Access Helps, that's ACCESS Helps.org, and find out from there. Now, the primary qualification, David, is low income?
Actually, there are several things that we have to look at. One, obviously, you have to be homeless or at risk of being homeless.
No.
And the second is, and I think this is really what's quite wonderful about this program, is that it's also, you need to be a veteran, or you could be someone in a family member who has a veteran who is considered the head of the household. So a spouse or a partner can actually contact us and receive some services also. The third one is low income, as I said, and I gave the example of, you know, an individual veteran who makes $19,000 or less would be considered low income. So those are the three requirements that we have, and then from there, you know, we need a little bit of paperwork, and, you know, we can start working with you.
Well, it's just amazing, and in your own story, Jay, I'm trying to get my mind around it. You know, how long were you homeless, you and your wife?
Well, for 8 years, we kind of lived in the back of a van, back of a pickup with a canopy, towing trailers from parking lot to parking lot. Putting the two boys in one place, somebody's house, where they could get to and from school while we stayed on the streets until we could find a place. Went from RV park to RV park, not being able to hold a job with a lot of my illnesses. And so when we had an income, we stayed in an RV park, otherwise we're towing from parking lot to parking lot.
And I just can't imagine, again, David, you're sharing with us that this is a growing problem, you know. And what was the count in Jackson County, you said, roughly?
In 2010, it was roughly about 180 veterans who were considered homeless.
All right. Well, let me just say to our viewers and listeners, you can help, and you can get a hold of David, 779-6691, and or accesshelps.org. Because I didn't know that part of Access had this. And how long have you been doing it now?
We've had these funds from the Department of VA since October, actually, so fairly new.
Fairly new.
Yeah.
What's your long-range plan goal here?
Well, as I said at the very beginning, we really at Access want to make a priority that all of our veterans who have served, you know, in the past or even, you know, most recent past, that they find their homes, and that, you know, they and their families could actually get the foundation, basic, fundamental parts of our lives, the basic, you know, that that they deserve.
Yeah.
You know, that they really deserve.
Are you involved in other areas besides housing for them?
Yeah, we are. So the programs that help support, you know, as I said, we have utility and energy support. We have weatherization, where we can come into houses and help educate families on how to save money by, you know, weatherizing their homes. Rental subsidies, we can do, you know, help individuals occasionally who might be struggling, you know, lost their job and struggling with their rent. Obviously, we have food. So, you know, a veteran or anybody who's considered, you know, they're having a difficult time in our community, you know, they can come in and go to one of our pantries and receive some food. So there's a whole range of programs at Access that really aim at more of a holistic approach of helping support our citizens in Jackson County.
Well, you've only been doing this since October.
This is not since October,
So
yeah.
how many have you placed so far?
Yeah, well, so we actually share these fundings with 2 other community action agencies in the Southern Oregon. So we're in 5 counties.
Wow.
And at our last count last month, we actually have served in a variety of different ways 155 veterans.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive with, you know, 5 counties and have that many veterans have been touched by this work.
Now, you assist them in getting started. Is there a follow-up, or is your goal to get them started, and then, of course, other agencies to help them sustain that?
Yeah, correct. So I don't think we could be successful if we didn't have our partners.
Right.
Because Access can do one piece and be a stepping stone, and then there's a variety of different community agencies in Jackson County. So part of the support that a veteran would receive is not only what we can do, but referrals into the community. Ultimately, we really want housing stability. So we're going to help someone get started, get their feet on the ground. We're going to follow them for months, and then other ways that we can support them include child care. So maybe someone needs to go to work and we need to help them with their child care, or car repairs. Jay was having some difficulty with his truck recently, and we were able to help him, because that's a cost that interferes with his ability. So there's a lot of flexibility, and then we have our community partners.
All right, with about a minute we have left or so, what can you say to those that have maybe an extra house, or they're an apartment owner, or maybe even a room that could be offered? What do you say to those people that could do that?
Yeah, I would say, take a moment and think about all the men and women who have served our country, are currently serving our country, and their families. There's been sacrifice on a variety of different levels. Right. And if you have an open space, and that there are people who could go in there and be part of, be part of your community by being housed, they deserve it. Our families deserve it. And if you can offer that, we need the housing. We need people, landlords and property owners, to acknowledge and to step up and to make available for our veterans the house they deserve. Okay, again, the phone number, if you want to get a hold of David, is 779-6691, 779-6691, or accesshelps.org, and there's a website there you can find out more information. But an opportunity to collaborate and help and bring resources and housing. And what about volunteers? You need help on that area? Or Access can always use volunteers. Give us a call. We'll find some work for you. Trust me.
Yeah, you can put food in a bag, right?
Food in a bag, and you can help us clean, whatever.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right. Hey, thank you so much, and thank you, Jay, for coming, sharing your story, and thank you for your service. All right, we'll see you next time on Focus Today.
Hi, I'm Jim, and I work at theDove TV. Every weekday between 6 and 8 a.m., our award-winning news and sports team bring you the best morning show around. It's live, it's honest, and it's a whole lot of fun. And you help make it happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to air local programs that share your voice by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us.